An early Diwali bonanza for India as the Modi government has announced new GST structure that will have big impact on your wallets. As announced by the Prime Minister from the ramparts of the Red Fort on Independence Day, the next generation GST reforms are here, and the one that they say will improve the ease of living in India. Now, the current 4-tier tax rate structure that has been rationalized into 2 slab tax structure, a 5% slab and now a 18% slab. Now, the earlier additional GST slabs of 12 and 18 will now be abolished by the government, and it has also introduced a new 40% slab. This is a steep hike that we are looking at, which has been labeled as a sin tax. Let's in the meantime talk about, as far as when we get you these developments, as I said, what will cost more, what will now cost less, what are the brackets in which that we are looking at this 2-tier structure on the goods that have now been put across. As far as these categories are concerned, we're going to spell out the details one by one, and this has been a major announcement that has been made by the Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman herself. Now, when we speak of the GST Council, who all were present, when we speak of the state finance ministers and the union territories finance ministers who were present, and what is being said that a consensus was built to actually get this on board, as ease of living and ease of doing business seems to be the 2 mantra that has been envisioned by the Prime Minister and has now turned into practical, as it is set to be implemented from the 22nd of this month. So let's talk about, as far as when we speak of this tax structure, how it has been divided by the government, why it is also being called as an early Diwali bonanza. Let's take a look as far as when it comes to this tax structure is also concerned. 2 tax structure, which is a 5% and an 18% slab. The earlier additional GST slab that amounted to 12 and 18% will now be removed by the government itself. So in the meantime, let's take a look at the key takeaways that was announced by the Union Finance Minister last evening. When we speak of the new GST regime to have 2 slabs, this is being said and called as the next generation GST or GST 2.0. Then we talk about, when we come to the earlier multi-tier system that included 12% and 28%, these are no longer going to be in effect. In fact, what will stay is the 2-tier structure, which is the tax slab of 5% and also of 18%. Another key takeaway that we speak of is a 40% hike. This has now been announced by the Government of India, which is now being labeled as sin tax on luxury goods. Now 40% for sin and luxury goods. However, when it comes to the bonanza, especially in multiple sectors that involve individual health and life insurance, it will now become GST free. When we speak of other sectors as well, even when it comes to the revenue that is going to be estimated and the losses, in fact, that are now being calculated, as that has been a concern that has been raised by multiple states. So when we speak of the estimated revenue loss, it could amount to nearly 48,000 crores. When we speak of the new GST tax structure, the new regime will now be implemented from the 22nd of September. This is an early Diwali bonanza that the Government of India has announced for the citizens. Now, when we speak of the Union Finance Minister, who revealed that it was the Prime Minister who set the tone for upgrading the GST structure, which will now kick in from the 22nd of September.
The Honorable Prime Minister actually set the tone for the next generation reforms on the 15th of August when he spoke from the Red Fort. So, and he desired that we give the benefit to the people at the earliest. He mentioned Deepavali, but I'll go through the decisions in detail a bit, but this reform is not just on rationalizing rates. It's also on structural reforms. It's also on ease of living.
So interestingly, many items that will no longer have a GST charged on its purchase, and it includes when it comes to insurance schemes, as well as it could have a huge impact on the financial security of the middle class families. What now becomes GST Mukt? Let's take you through the details one by one. In fact, when we speak of individual health insurance, individual life insurance, stationary items as well, they now become GST Mukt. Let's talk about when it comes to the consumables. When we speak of UHT milk, when we speak of chana, when we speak of paneer, also when we speak of Indian breads, and most important of all of them are 33 life-saving drugs as well that now become GST mukt. Now when we speak of other several GST products that will also have their GST rates completely slashed, as the government is now looking to boost spending and ease the lives of the poor and also of the middle class.
Reduction of GST from 5% to nil. 5 से 0 में जाने वाले आइटम्स इंडिकेट कर रहा हूं. Ultra high temperature milk, the UHT milk, chena or paneer, all the Indian breads will see nil rate. So roti kisi ke upar bhi, chapati or roti or paratha or whatever it is, they all come to nil. Reduction from 18 or from 12 to 5%. I list out those items, all of whom have come to 5%. From either 18 or from 12. Common man items such as hair oil, toilet soap, bars, soap bars, shampoos, toothbrushes, toothpaste, bicycles, tableware, kitchenware and other household articles have all come to 5. Whether they were in 18 or whether they were in 12. इसमें food items बहुत सारे हैं. नमकीन से भुजिया है, sauces है, pasta है, instant noodles है, chocolates, coffee, preserved meat, cornflakes, butter, ghee, ये सब 5% में आ रही है.
So the government, which has also announced a 40% tax slab, now which they call it as a sin tax, that would now be imposed on tobacco products and also when we speak of aerated drinks. Motorcycles as well, which are above 350 cc, will also come under this structure, including when it comes to petrol cars that has over 1200 cc and diesel cars above 1500 cc will also now attract a 40% GST tax. Other super luxury items like personal aircraft, choppers, that will also attract a SEPA 40% tax that will also include yachts. So what is now happening if you are planning to buy or purchase a car this festive season, and how do these new GST rates will now affect you? Especially in the meantime, what you need to know when we speak of the other rates, especially when it comes to purchasing of a car, this is an example that we are given. Electric vehicles, that will amount 5% GST, there has been no change. When we speak of petrol hybrid, LPG, CNG, earlier which attracted 28% GST, now from the 22nd of September will go down to 18%. There is a 10% difference. In fact, when we speak of 1200 cc or 4000 mm, let's also take a look as far as when we speak of diesel or diesel hybrid. Now, earlier it was 28%, again 10% decrease of 18%. Big cars, when we speak of GST, 40% over 4000 mm. But we also tell you about what happens when you're planning to travel by air. India has already overtaken Japan when we speak to become the 5th largest aviation market in the world. So will now flight travel also hurt your pockets? Let's find out. When we speak of GST 2.0 and air travel, economy class travelers, 5% GST, there is no change in the tax slab. When we speak of business and first class travelers, earlier it attracted 12% GST, now it would be 18%. Chartered flights for pilgrimage, 5% GST, there is no change here. But private jets, earlier 28% cess, now plus cess, now we speak of 40%, which now comes under the category of sin tax or the luxury tax. However, these are the certain differences that has now been made clear by the government, especially when it comes to simplifying the tax slabs and also giving the people there a chance when it comes to ease of living and furthering when it comes to ease of doing businesses amongst the middle class category. Let's get in a word from an economist. Good morning to you, Sharad Kohli. He's connected with us on the phone line. Sharad, first of all, when we speak of the broader picture, because this was a vision that the Prime Minister spoke of when it comes to ease of doing business and ease of living, has the GST tax slabs now been simplified?
Yes, good morning. Definitely, I think this will bring a lot of relief on three fronts. One, it'll bring relief to the consumers because their home budgets, whatever they purchase, practically everything that they purchase, whether it is white goods, lasting goods or consumables, everything is going to be cheaper now starting 22nd of September, which is the beginning of Navratra. The second rung of benefit will go to the businesses. There are about 1.5 crore registered dealers in this country. They are going to benefit. There's going to be ease of compliance. As you know, refunds have been made easy. Registrations have been made simpler and easy. Automatic registration in 3 days. Inverted duty structures has been reversed on yarn and fertilizers. And the third rung of benefit will come to the government as well. Well, there was a lot of apprehension being expressed earlier that the tax collections may go down and there will be revenue loss and so on and so forth. But that's not going to happen because every time you cut the tax rates, there is a very popular economist in America called Arthur Laffer. The theory says that every time you cut down the rates, the tax collections go up because more people pay. There's going to be buoyancy. There's going to be more buying from the consumers. So that will offset the shortfall of revenue. So all three fronts, I think, are going to be benefited. And I think people can look forward to a bonanza. My calculation back of the envelope says that somebody having income of 1 lakh rupees a month, spending about, let's say, 40,000 on the grocery bill. I'm just taking groceries, although you could be buying a television, you could be buying an air conditioner, a refrigerator, and so and so. But if your grocery bill is, say, for example, 40,000 rupees, you will end up saving at least 4,000 rupees a month. So you can use that money for savings, or you can use that money for buying more for that matter.
All right. Well, we will also speak of the revenue shortfall as well, because that has been a concern that has been raised by several state governments. But appreciate you, Sharad Kohli, for joining us here on the broadcast. But to simplify exactly what has been the vision of the government so far, when implemented, that will happen on the 22nd of September. Now, the new tax slabs could bring in long-term gains for both insurers and also for consumers, despite short-term margin pressures. There is likely to be improved affordability that will further encourage more households to purchase health cover and supporting broader financial inclusion goals. Let's get you a breakdown.
Finally, the GST Council has approved a two-rated structure under GST 5% and 18%. In fact, a proposal of scrapping 12% and 28% slab has also been cleared by the GST Council. A separate slab of 40% will be created for thin goods and high-end luxury items. In fact, all states have supported the centre's proposal, and there have been significant reduction in GST on various items such as hair oil, toilet soap, toothpaste, shampoo have been brought under 5% slab. UHT milk, paneer, Indian breads will have been placed under nil category. Bhujia, pasta, sauce, chocolate, butter will attract 5% GST. All TVs will now tax at 18% GST. Tractor, harvesting machines will attract 5% GST. Small cars to come under 18% from existing 28%. Items such as handicraft, marble, leather goods will attract 5% GST. Cement has been brought under 18% from existing 28%. Uniform rate of 18% will be levied on all auto parts. Three-wheeler has been placed under 18% category from 28%. GST on buses, trucks and ambulance to attract 18%. Very significant development coming in. Along with that, the GST Council has also decided to address the inverted duty structure in the fertilizer sector. All inputs under fertilizer sector will come under 5% category. Mid-sized car, large cars will attract 40%. Bike exceeding 350cc has been placed under 40% category. Positive development for the insurance sector as well, consumers as well, as the GST Council has decided to exempt GST on life insurance and health insurance premiums for individuals. A very significant development coming in. All changes will come into effect from 22nd September, except pan masala, jarda, gutka, cigarette, tobacco. Compensation cess on these products will continue until loans are repaid. A very significant development coming in. In fact, the finance minister has reiterated that the rate reduction and rate rationalization on these items will have a very positive impact on GDP.
So these reforms that have a multi-sectoral and also a multi-thematic focus that is aimed at ensuring the ease of living for all citizens and also ease of doing businesses for all. Now, when we speak of the revised GST regime that has been hailed by Nirmala Sitharaman's peers in the cabinet as a bold move that shows the Prime Minister's vision and also commitment when it comes to ease of living and ease of doing business, as we're looking at multiple statements that has come in from the top government leadership, right from the Union Home Minister Amit Shah, and we're also looking at the Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal, who've all called this as a historic decision that will bring upon a huge relief to the poor and the middle class, while also supporting farmers, the MSMEs, women and the youth in particular. But when we speak of one of the most sought changes to the regime that has been GST exemptions is now on life insurance and health cover, which means that the premiums that would now come down, and this has now also become the decision that the opposition is rushing to actually take credit for. Let's in the meantime take a look how the Vipaksh has been reacting to the new GST tax slab. This is as far as coming in from the Congress party, right from the Congress to the TMC. Party men seems to be rushing to dig out old tweets of their bosses, only to say that this rollback was forced by them and because of their protest. Let's in the meantime talk of the TMC MP Mahua Mojra. Dide Mamata Banerjee wrote to Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on the 2nd of August 2024, urging withdrawal of 18% GST on life and health insurance policies. Finance Minister has finally done it, albeit to offset pain from friend Donald's 50% tariffs, and All India Trinamool Congress continues to fight anti-people policies. So taking credit here as well. Priyanka Chaturvedi, now of the UBT faction of Shiv Sena, says that long overdue correction on GST slabs which was being demanded has now been done. High time GST truly works for India and for Indians as well. And remember at the time when the GST was imposed and this new tax structure that came into effect, you would have heard the opposition calling it as Gabbar Singh tax. They have now revived the very same analogy that has been coined for the first time the GST came into being. And again, we are hearing the same analogy that is now being made, saying that it is because of the pressure that they built on the government today is finally acting on that very decision. In the meantime, there is another one that is coming in from the TMC, calling it as a victory for common people, a victory wrested from a tone-deaf regime that only listens when forced. From day one, Srimati Mamata Banerjee had warned that finance minister that taxing the insurance premiums was cruel, anti-people, and would deter families from securing their future, leaving them vulnerable to financial ruin in times of crisis. The Narendra Modi government has finally buckled under pressure. This rollback proves that the BJP for India only acts when cornered. We will continue to fight every such Jono Virodi or Jan Virodi decision in Parliament, on the streets and among the people as well. Let's get in a word from Nyamika and multiple of a team of reporters there. Of course, we'll be also trying to speak to the people early this morning as these developments, Nyamika, good morning, came in last evening. So people now waking up exactly to find out, because when it comes to the people and what really matters to them is the goods that have now become cheaper. That will be a factor that they will be looking out for as far as this big Diwali bonanza is concerned. But the Vipaksh saying कि हमने तो बोला ही था, this is what we said and what has been demanding ever since the GST came into force.
Well, yes, indeed, Amita. We have seen that it was Prime Minister Narendra Modi who had made this promise of giving Diwali bonanza during the time when he was giving a speech on Independence Day. But it seems like it has been implemented even much before the Diwali celebration, and for that reason we have also seen that the politics has also started erupting over the same because the credit war has begun between the Congress and the TMC also. We have seen that how Srinivas Bibi, who is the former Youth Congress president, he had made a tweet in this regard saying that it was Rahul Gandhi who had firstly made this appeal to the government of India to remove the GST from the health insurance, and now it is being done by the government of India. He is basically saying that it is being appealed by the next Prime Minister of this country. country, giving all the credit to Rahul Gandhi. But on the other side, we have also seen that how Mahua Moitra has also tweeted in this regard, as she is giving all the credit to Mamata Banerjee, as she is basically quoting the letter which was being written by the West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee to the Finance Minister, asking her to remove the GST from the health insurance schemes. So clearly, we have seen that a credit war has already begun. But on the other side, if you talk about the other voices which are coming in on the part of the opposition parties, then it is the former
we speak
finance...
of the opposition as well, but mainly important is the Janta, the voices that are now coming in, and if they are welcoming this move that has been made by the government. Of course, when we speak of the FAQs, the frequently answered questions or asked questions, I beg your pardon, is something that we will be doing here on the channel as well. So we have experts that are going to be lined up, and they will be taking up the questions mainly that arise from the people on the concerns that has now been raised over what now becomes cheaper and now what becomes more dearer. Nyamika, for the moment, thank you very much.